Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, e buonasera, Lazio world. Welcome to your instant reaction pod. I'm your host, Sean McIntosh, once again going at it solo to chat about Lazio Pisa in the final match of this season. Thank God. What an awful season this was. No wonder Caleb is hiding from having to cover and record these games. Yeah, I'm here solo. But look, we'll reconvene together. Caleb and I already scheduling when we will do our full in-depth post-season recap to cover any and all things from this tumultuous season, this I'd say roller coaster, but a roller coaster ride tends to have some highs and lows, and there were many more lows this year than you would hope for. So gonna plop this one on Twitter for those that are joining us live here. So give me 1 second. All right. Look, I think we'll talk about the game. We'll talk about the game, but the real topic of conversation here is Pedro. But we'll jump in. Look, this match mattered. I mean, essentially nothing, right? This had no bearing on qualification for either side. Pisa's already relegated. We are outside of any European qualification. Now, you could say aesthetically, like we don't want to fall in the bottom half of the league table. But at the end of the day, what does it really matter? Awful season. So, right. But really for me, tuning in, besides the fact that I've got this sickness of supporting Lazio and watching them, despite how torturous it can be. I really was watching for Pedro. I wanted to see his final match. I wanted to watch him score a goal, and was very hopeful that would happen. And he blessed us with one final moment of magic. So we'll jump into this one where we always do. Just some notes here on the starting 11. Between injuries and suspensions, God, this one was a starting 11 that was really a story of what this Lazio has become. It is just grim. You take a look at that midfield. My God, you've got Belayan, Toma Basic, Dele Bashiru. If that's not a Serie B level team in midfield, I don't know what is. Marusic on the right, Hila Romagnoli. Romagnoli's back from his suspension. Pellegrini, because Nuno was out. Furlan, and then your attacking trio, Pedro, Noslin, Cancellieri. Let me tell you, just if that is what the team looks like next season, it's not going to get much better. But was excited to see Pedro donning the captain's armband. And pretty early into this, it's just a sign of just how depth this team is from any sort of real quality, because in the 6-minute mark, Cancellieri, clean through goal. It's him and the keeper. And he does well to pounce on a ball and take advantage of the situation. He's got loads of space. One thing Cancellieri has is a bit of pace and strength, and he takes way too long to take his shot. Defender catches up. It's a great lunging tackle from behind that sees the ball go out. Lazio earn a corner, but it's just lack of quality right there, lack of awareness to just pick his head up, take the shot that's given. And then in the 24th minute, Pisa strikes. Not surprising. It's a ball that's whipped in. It's a cross. Hila doesn't quite get there, and we are down. And fairly quick turn of events in the 33rd minute. Dele Bashiru with a nice little meg, plays a nice ball to Belayan with a nice meg, plays a nice ball to Dele Bashiru, who does well to control it, quick turn, nice finish. It's 1-1. And then in the 35th minute, the only thing that mattered in this match is Pedro with his moment of brilliance. Just takes a little bit of space that he has and whips it. A nice curler. A keeper has no chance there, and he finds the back of the net. 2-1 Lazio. Ultimately, it finishes that way, and it's our applause to a legend who had won everything there was. So my 3 words or less. It's just simply 2 words. Grazie, Pedro. This player had won everything there had to be won in this game. Between World Cups, Euros, and then at the club level, his time with Barcelona, had won everything under the sun, had won Europe and Premier League, and you name it, at Chelsea, and comes here and after 200, I believe it was 209 appearances with the Bianco Celeste shirt, played as if he had never won anything. There was always a fire behind Pedro that even when he wasn't quite at his top form, it just always seemed like there was this energy level that you were just dying to see with so many others on the squad who often would seem lifeless and that they were distracted or maybe they didn't care. And you never questioned Pedro's desire to win and desire to give maximum effort, and always had that just touch of class, right? And it showed today. This is a match that deserved a full Stadio Olimpico, and obviously with the chaos surrounding Claudio Lotito kind of robbed us of what should have been a special moment with Pedro under the curva. But he got his moment at after the Coppa Italia final. But it was awesome to have a legend like that at the club. It seems hopeless that we'll see players like that for a very, very long time don our shirt, given so much instability and it's from a recruiting standpoint, there's not a ton to sell to players like that who maybe want to finish their career with a bit of glory and one final opportunity at Champions League and at least European play. And so, really, really disappointing finish to the season. We come out on top here, just kind of sticking to the match. Man of the match, it's Pedro. It was always going to be Pedro. I think of, if I'm going to quickly go through this, because again, a pretty meaningless match, and we'll spend a lot of time dissecting this season and going into length about, we'll spend time in the off season about transfer market and what does that look like? And I'm sure we'll see swirling list of names, and certainly a manager will be on the horizon. It seems all but certain that Sarri will be on his way out. Looks like he's really close to Atalanta, but stubborn Lotito, we'll see what he does about that. So who knows? We'll spend time there. So this match, again, very meaningless in the grand scheme of things, but one deserving of us acknowledging the legend and special player that Pedro was. So my bidone here, I've got to give it to Gila. I just, it was an early reckless yellow from him. I think he wasn't good enough aerially on the goal that we conceded. And, our midfield, you got a goal out of Dele Bashiru, who, did a really nice job there. And Belayan was the one that had the nice assist. So, our midfield did the job. And but I think Gila could have done better. I didn't think Pellegrini was particularly sharp either. But again, what are we even talking about here in a match that meant nothing outside of celebrating Pedro? And for those that didn't see, pretty cool. They had a special patch on their shirt. So on the opposite side of where you see the Serie A patch, there was a special commemorative Pedro patch. It's got like an animated Pedro on there with a number of the trophies he's won in his career. just acknowledging the final match. And so all the players had that on their shirts today. Lazio style store, their official team shop, is selling kits, and I think they're doing like a free patch for anybody that purchases a kit. So I know we're all trying not to spend money directly through the club. I am considering that just to again have that massive kit collector, and I thought that was a really cool way to acknowledge Pedro in his final match for us. So yeah, I see, a couple comments flowing in on YouTube. Thank God this disaster of a season is over. This is the first year I chose not to watch this team at times because they were so bad. I hear you, brother. It was tough, but yeah, it's one. I think the hardest part is like we've had seasons that were poor, and I had this conversation with folks that maybe don't follow Serie A or Lazio closely enough. And for me, the most difficult part about it all is not just this season in a vacuum. It's tough to have a bad season, and it is what it is. Every team, big clubs, small clubs, they have their ups and downs, and they have their seasons. We had our season a couple years ago where we finished second, and we finished mid-table, 9th, 8th before. We missed out on European qualification. This is the first time in like 30 years we've done so in back-to-back seasons. So bad seasons happen. You typically what you want to do is just close the book, move on, and I'm sure that's what we all want to do. I want to do that too. I think the challenge here is that there's very little hope at the end of this. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard for me to then just want to close the book and look forward to next season because it doesn't seem like much will change. We know the reason for that and the reason behind the protests. And that's what makes this really, really tough. It doesn't seem like it will get better. And in fact, my concern that I'm sure many of you share is that it will only get worse. And so, Caleb and I will spend a ton of time talking about the future and what that looks like. But that's my biggest concern is that, we're a mid-table team this year. And we may very well lose Gila, Romagnoli. We've just lost a leader, and not just a leader, somebody that has come in and won us matches. Can't count the number of matches he won us last year in Pedro. And you start to wonder, when you really look at this squad, there are so few players that you can call Serie A level starters. 3, 4 maybe, especially if you lose Gila and Romagnoli and the rebuild. It's tough to think we'll be better. On paper, it seems like we'll be worse. And if we are worse than mid-table, that puts relegation into a very real possibility. So, but I don't want to go that dark this early. Who knows how Lotito will respond to this all. It's just hard to imagine, again, the finances behind not qualifying for Europe once again, but who knows? A shirt sponsor, wonder how that'll play a role into their ability to maybe sign a player or two. But it's going to take real quality, multiple players like a Kenneth Taylor across a number of different positions, and it's going to be such an undertaking to get us to a position that any of us will be happy. So. Yeah, that's the brutal reality of it. Is that this may be just the start of bad things happening to Lazio. So and then you wonder, like, the protests, there's no sign of those stopping just because the season is over, and what's the reason for stopping them going into next year? So we shall see. Yeah, we'll do our whole grades, and we'll come prepared. If there are topics you guys want us to dive into, please let us know, either through the comments here, wherever you listen to our podcast. We're on social media, so let us know if there are things that you want us to cover and dive into this off season, and we'll do that. man, good riddance to this season. It was not a fun one. We had so much hope about a week and a half ago going into the Coppa Italia final and the Derby, and everything that could go wrong did. So any chance that there was a sliver of hope for something positive this year went up in flames. So it is what it is, but it was nice for us to have a positive ending, if we want to call it that, to this season with Pedro, and for me, I'll look fondly on that. As just awful as this year was, it was nice to see Pedro score a goal. And that's where we're at, where something like that has to be held on to so dearly. And I feel every rooting interest that I've had just across football in general has gone wrong. And so it was nice sitting down today, turning the TV on, wanting Pedro to score and wanting something positive to come out of his performance, and it happening. I'll walk away happy that that was something I could cherish. So that's that. I'll keep this one really brief today. A big thank you to all of our listeners and followers for supporting us. We don't get paid to do this. This is just purely our passion and love for Lazio and connecting to Laziali around the world. So appreciate it. If you guys can rate our pod, give us those 5-star ratings. Subscribe, share, retweet, tell a friend's friend about the podcast. It helps us grow, and we want to connect with as many Laziali as possible. So win, lose, draw, Pedro, no Pedro.